If you are interested in buying real estate here on St. George Island, either as a second home, vacation home that you will want to put into the rental market to offset the cost, or as purely an investment vehicle to generate that same or more extensive short-term rental income, this is a must-see video. What we're going to do is kind of do an overview of the island, and then try to get a deep dive more into the market of it. For those people that have never been to St. George Island or only been once or twice, we're just going to kind of do an overview of the amenities here on the island. One thing I do want to start off with is what this island is about in terms of the real estate market. It is not homogenous. It's not one market. The location still leads pricing here, even with newer construction. So Gulfront homes consistently command more price per square foot. Bayfront homes vary a lot more in their pricing, which can generate an opportunity. And also, interior and Gulf view homes are the most price sensitive. So again, as we know, newer homes usually will list higher per square foot, but with that, a buyer can get modern building constructions, lower maintenance, insurance efficiencies, but location again will outweigh age. An older Gulfront home can outperform a newer interior home. And of course, new construction premiums flatten fastest on interior lots. So with that said, let's kind of move into and take a look at what St. George Island is really all about. I'm using a tool that realtors have here. It's the Realtors Property Resource. You could also use Zillow as well if you wanted to try to follow along here, but gives you a good example. So this is essentially the populated portion of St. George Island. And I'm going to quickly back out, kind of give you a geographic view of where St. George Island is in respect to the Florida Panhandle. As you can see, it's at the very southern tip, below about 4 miles off of Apalachicola. The area that we are concerned with here is from Mexico Beach all the way over to Panacea. Here is the island itself. It's 28 miles long. It's kind of separated into three parts, going back to its original origins in terms of development. Two gentlemen, John Stock, I think, was a Birmingham developer, and Gene Brown, a lawyer from Tallahassee, came together to form Leisure Properties, I think back in the early 70s. They bought up most of the island and then sold this portion of it up here where the state park is at. They sold it to the state and then took the income from that, the revenue of that, and then turned around and then developed the southern end of the island in what is now the gated community known as the Plantations of St. George. It has its own HOA, of course, and also interesting is that it also has its own kind of like sub developments inside of the development. So you have like Casa Del Mar, Schooners Landing. There's some other communities in there, Pelican Point, I believe. So you kind of like have sub HOAs within the umbrella HOA. When you come in across the bridge into the main part in the middle of the island, this is kind of where your commercial area is located at, right in here. This is where we have our restaurants, including Patty's, Raw Bar, which is on the bay side. We've got BJ's Pizza. We have the Beach Pit, which has great breakfast and barbecue. And then on the beach itself, we have the Blue Parrot Restaurant, which is the only restaurant on the beach and will probably be the only restaurant on the beach. And also in the middle, there's Mango Mike's Tiki Bar, or I think it's a grill as well. And it's up for sale if somebody's interested in reaching out to me about the purchase of that. We did have Harry A's. That was a restaurant. It did go into foreclosure, but has now been bought. We're excited about it coming back. So that's essentially it in terms of offerings here as far as dining. We do have a Piggly Wiggly Express, which is our local grocery store. If we wanted more things, we'd have to go over across the bridge to Apalachicola to as we call it, the Big Pig, the Piggly Wiggly there to be able to do our grocery shopping. So what I want to do is just kind of quickly show you how these trends work in terms of the actual listings that are on the island. Right now there's about 110 listings. That number has kind of stayed steady. It has come drawn down a little bit because for the past couple of years we've had a number of homes come on the market, but there haven't been enough pressure to drive that down. So that we use a number, inventory. You're looking at inventory right now. It's at about 12 to 14 months, probably closer to 14 months, which means that it would take 14 months to draw down that inventory if there were no other homes that were coming on the market. So homes here will stay on the market for about a year. That seems to be unusual. Most homogeneous home markets do not have that. Usually they're 3 to 6 months. But here on the island, there's this tendency to kind of, I don't want to say inflate the price when they put these on the market, but that's what I see this trend quite a bit here, where the homes are listed kind of high, and then either one of two things happens: either eventually, as time goes by, the price will come down, or eventually the market price will catch up. And usually, what happens is that both of those come into alignment, and then we have a sale. So looking here back on our map here, I'm going to do a quick search with this tool, remove the boundary, and then now you can see the homes here that are listed for sale. And we'll start down here at the southern tip, which is the Plantation. And as we draw in here closer, you'll notice that right here is what's known as the government cut is listed here. It's also known as Bob Sykes cut, or we just call it the cut. This was put in here by the Corps of Engineers years ago. Again, all this portion right in here between the cut and this location right here, where the green kind of goes into the white, this is where our entrance to the plantation is at. It does have a gate to it, a security gate. It is guarded. There is also an airstrip on here for use by residents of the plantation. It has full amenities. It has a clubhouse, it has pools, it has tennis courts, it has pickleball courts. The interesting thing about the real estate here, and we'll zero in down here on some of this where you can actually see the lots themselves down here at that cut. This right here commands premium price. And that's why you're looking at a $6 million home that looks like this, that has the great view that looks out over the cut. And that's most of this real estate along here has that great view that not only looks out over the cut, but also over the entire bay, and you get that wonderful sunsets. If you come around here, you'll notice that there are smaller lots in here, and these probably, I think, maybe half-acre lots right along this street here on the north side of Sailfish Drive. This is some new construction that's going on currently. There's this, beautiful houses here along here. I mean, this is where luxury real estate lives, right here on the southern tip of St. George Island, and also, within the plantation. You'll notice there is a main road that drives all the way through the plantation. It's known as Leisure Lane, and of course that leisure comes from the Leisure Corporation that John Stock and Gene Brown had, and what they used to build the plantation. I believe they wound up selling off all their holdings to the plantation. Gene still held on to our water management services, which is our water department here on the island. I believe he has finally recently sold off the remaining holdings he's had of that, probably to retire. But let's blow this up where we can look at this a little bit better. Again, all these homes here along in the plantation, along the Gulf, if you notice, the property line of these runs right up to the Gulf. And so that means that all these properties here in the plantation that are Gulf side, their property line runs to the mean tide line. And then as we run down here, you notice that most of the homes in here, particularly in the interiors, are running between 900,000 to 1.25 million. The ones here on the bay side, they can vary from 2 million down to 1.2, and that can be due to a number of factors. Also how old the construction is, but also in terms of its ability to access the bay. You can only put a dock on the bay side here on the island. You cannot put a dock on the Gulf front if that's something you're interested in. If you've got a boat, bay side is where you're going to want to be. We do have some local boat ramps. There is one here on the island as you go back underneath the bridge. And then there's also a couple landings on over in East Point now. And then, of course, what we call the 10-foot hole, which is the launch underneath the big bridge over in Apalachicola. In the plantation, you could have access to the bay right at the end of your lot here. But then there's also areas here where the marshy grass extends out way beyond your property line, and you would literally either have to have a 100-foot dock or longer to be able to access the water if you had like a kayak or a boat where you have a boat lift out there on the end. So that can drive the price of these homes here on the bay. As we run our way up through here, you'll notice again we're looking at 2 to 3 million here, Gulf front, and then interior we have the 1.2s. Here's our airstrip. We're moving out through here. When you get more towards the gate, there are some opportunities here with some lower priced homes here with the interior. And you might say, well, why would you want the interior? It's still going to generate a rental income. It probably won't generate as much as a Gulf front or Bayside, but it can still generate a reasonable income. Also, the other thing that helps generate your rental income is the size of the home. If you've got a 4-bedroom or larger, you're going to generate more income as opposed to a three-bedroom home. As we move here out of the gate here, here's where the lots are much smaller, and you're more likely to get a better value here in the what we call the Gulf Beach section as we move more towards the northeast. And also we have this nice feature here where we have these canals here that have the opportunity of being able to get your boat into the water without actually being on the bay. If you've got a canal front, you can have a shorter dock, put your boat in the water, scoot on out into the bay, go fishing, boating, whatever you want to do. As we move on through the island, we're now moving into where we come over the bridge. This is the commercial area. We do have the Villas of St. George, which is one of just one of two condominiums, and then we have what was called 300 Ocean Mile down at the east end, which we'll get to here shortly. Condominiums are a way of getting your toe in the water here in terms of real estate. You can get a unit now here for $715,000. I do know that the HOAs are kind of high. It's around $1,100 a month, but then again, it pays for everything. It pays for water, cable, sewer, garbage, and then the amenities that it offers is just a great view of the Gulf from pretty much any unit in there. And with as you go to 300 Ocean Mile, those are really townhouse units, and we'll get to those shortly. But the difference is between townhouse and condo, which is essentially the difference between 300 Ocean Mile and the villas, is that the villas are condominiums, which means you own everything from the drywall in, and then you just have a unfettered interest in all the common elements outside of the drywall. Whereas at the townhouse units down at 300 Ocean Mile, you've got you own not only the interior, but you also own the roof, any outside wall in the land up underneath the townhouse, and of course you have a unfettered access or ownership of all the common elements throughout the complex. So moving out through as we head towards 300 Ocean Mile and towards the state park, I mean there's some opportunities in here. These smaller, this right here is where we have our what we call the colorful pencil houses. They're very narrow lots, but there's opportunities in here to get in here for about $1 million. But again, looking at this price, just know that you've got the Plantation, which is that section down at the bottom. You've got this middle section, which is their smaller lots. So you got more opportunity to get in at a lower price point. And then as we move to the east end, that price structure is going to move back up as these lots get bigger and bigger. And of course, as you know, it's going to cost more to get a home here on the Gulf front as it would be on the first tier. So that's something. And as you move more towards the interior here, either Gulf Beach or Pine Avenue, your prices are going to be less, but the pricing will be a lot tighter. And as we come on down to here, once we get to 11th Street, this is the end of what we call the Gulf Beaches. One of the interesting things about this island is between this 11th Street East and 12th Street, access to the beach is public. So there's boardwalks all along here where you can access the beaches, also from the lighthouse itself. So this is all public access as far as the beach. Once you get either in the Plantation or up here on the northeast end of the island, you're back to where these beachfront homes. Again, the lot runs all the way to the mean tide line. So as we come down to the east end, you'll notice there's a lot less uh, opportunities to buy homes here. Most of the homes are in the Gulf Beach area. There are a few opportunities here to get home under 2 million. But as you can see here, the prices are fairly the same, whether it's Bayside or Gulf. These one on the Gulf front are going to command the higher price. Here's one, 5 million. That's a huge luxury home here, probably newer construction. And as we come down here, here is our area which we spoke about earlier. This is 300 Ocean Mile. These are townhouses. You can really get a good deal if you're interested in purchasing an investment property here in 300 Ocean Mile. There's your property right there available. And as we come into this next neighborhood here, this is called Sunset Beach. These are unattached homes here that have basically beachfront property. It runs all the way almost to the mean tide line, and then on you have what we call first tier homes. This one also has a clubhouse and pool as well, and then this leads right on into the state park. So that's essentially the tour here. If you are interested in purchasing a home down here, I really suggest that you get a good realtor, because some of the things that you're going to be wanting to do if you find a home is where you want to do all due diligence. You want to do an inspection. You want to do an inspection, a 4-point on the house itself. You also want to do an inspection of the septic system, because all homes here on the island are essentially on septic. So I'm Alan Bird with the Bird Realty team, Anchor Realty. I would love to be your real estate resource here on the island. Give me a call. You can text. You can reach me by email. I would love to sit down and we can talk about some of the what your goals here, not only on St. George Island, but along the Forgotten Coast, anywhere from Mexico Beach to Wakulla County. I would love to talk to you, kind of set some goals here, figure out what it is that you're really looking for, and then let's see what we can do. Until next video, have a great day.